And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode number 109. We are closing into being 1/10 of the way towards 200 episodes, so that's fun. We're back on our home shores here. We did a nice little foreign residency, and if any more pop up or you have any, please send them to me. But I thought we would come back to the great Northeast here as winter is approaching us, and take a look at a more local Aerostar. And without giving this one away, this is, boy, quite no better Aerostar than to come back to America with than this one, as we'll soon show you. So, without further ado, excuse me, with a bit further ado, here we have a 1996 Ford Aerostar Passenger XLT Extended Minivan, listed in Danbury, Connecticut for $3,500. And boy, oh boy, look at this. You know, I'm wearing my navy blue sweatshirt and my navy blue hat, and we have a beautiful navy blue Ford Aerostar here. And I had to immediately go to this shot with the beautiful flames on it and the beautiful America flaming red, white, and blue eagle license plate cover. Apparently Connecticut's one of those states where you can get away with only one license plate, more American flags in the background, and another screaming eagle. I think that's more of a Firebird term, but you get my drift. Another eagle, red, white, and blue eagle here. A lot to show on this one, so I had to start off with that photo. We'll go back here. Here's your nice standard profile photo. These are, vertical screen grabs, but you do get a nice, lovely, blurry Aerostar in the background. So we'll just use our great zoom tool here and be able to show you some up-close pictures. So here we go. About this vehicle, driven 155,000 miles. I'd say that's almost about average for an Aerostar, quite honestly. You see a lot of low mileage ones creeping up, but you see a lot well over 200,000. So 155, good solid number. It's been driven, it's still got some life left. Automatic transmission, exterior color blue, interior color gray, everything else other color blue, as we'll get into. Fuel type gasoline, 15 mpg city, 21 highway for a combined 17. This vehicle is paid off and has a clean title. Seller's description, custom design. We'll see quite how custom it is as we go along. Always maintained, new tires, alternator, battery, radiator, new exhaust flex pipe, new tie rod ends, new heater core, handles great in the snow, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. So it must really handle great in the snow. I've actually seen some four-wheel drive Aerostar hill climb torture tests. I think I've referenced this before on this program. I think against like an all-wheel drive Ford Escape. If I can find that clip, I'll throw it in here and we can watch. But the Aerostar did perform very valiantly, easily out accelerating up a pretty steep incline against this Ford Escape, which was 10 or 15 years more modern. A couple things here in the description. It says handles great. Now handle is pronounced Handel apostrophe S, which is hilarious because it's not only has like a possessive apostrophe, but also handle is spelled. I almost don't even want to say incorrectly because my point here is not to judge or be like snobby or anything. It's just I love language and it only points out and articulates my point, which is that language is only correct insofar as it helps the other person understand what the first person is saying. So if the language is understood, it is therefore effective. And grammar and spelling I'm really not a stickler about because I think they're just creative uses of a system which is open to improvisation and ambiguity and constant change. So that's sort of my pitch on language. The funny thing about this is the way it's spelled Handel is like the composer, was it Frederick Handel? What's the guy who wrote Water music? Anyways, the composer Handel, and what's funny about that is I think one of his famous pieces is Water music, which I think was written about the Thames, which, go back to episode 100, was one time covered in completely consumed by human feces, which is another story for another day. Anyways, handles great in the snow. So snow obviously is a form of water, and so I think it's very funny that they, by putting the E in front of the L, have spelled handle like the composer who wrote about water, and this handles great in the snow. So there's a little sort of poetic circle that can be drawn from all these sort of different little happy accidents, and that's the great thing about language. I digress. Let's get a little bit more into so great description. Obviously, if the custom design choices that have been made are not particularly your taste, you can rest assured that underneath it seems like a really solid Aerostar. Now, $3,500. It's I think it was $4,000 previously, so it's already been discounted. For an all-wheel drive Aerostar, as we've seen, the price premium for an all-wheel drive Aerostar is just about 100%, because we have two examples on Bring a Trailer, and I will get to that. There's been a second Aerostar listed on Bring a Trailer since episode number 100. It was an all-wheel drive version, and it sold for just about twice as much as the rear-wheel drive version, and both were very similarly equipped otherwise in terms of the actual equipment. But then in terms of the year, in terms of the mileage, in terms of the condition, things like that. So it was a really good comp to see what exactly the electronic four-wheel drive is as a premium price-wise on the feature. And it's almost double. So for $3,500, it's getting up there. It's a mid-tier price for an Aerostar, but for an all-wheel drive one, pretty darn solid price, I have to say, especially if all this maintenance has been done to it and it's, in running driving condition. So, and I do see the badge here, which is funny because they don't brag about it being all-wheel drive. It's XLT, but it doesn't even say all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive in the listing, but we clearly see the electronic four-wheel badge here, and because it's the extended version, a lot more extendeds had the all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. It also doesn't talk about the 4-liter, but usually these fuel consumption numbers are consistent with the 4-liter as opposed to the 3-liter. Of course, the 4-liter came standard in all four-wheel drive Aerostars. So obviously we've seen this shot. We see these beautiful sort of white flames. Now it's interesting to me that they didn't make these flames blue, but I guess they wanted to go for the high contrast. However, on the rest of the vehicle, we can see blue flames is a very consistent theme. Now we have these very striking blue and white flames, I will say, to be fair, as like sort of some sort of graphic that's been put on the back. We also have yet another American flag that's been put on the back. I do like these Connecticut license plates quite a bit. Obviously more Americana in your background here. This actually, funnily enough, resembles a Canadian poppy that they give out during Canadian Veterans Day. So that's kind of funny that they inadvertently put a little bit of Canada in this Americana post, but neither here nor there. We do have a tow hitch, and your rear bumper, maybe the biggest highlight of them all, is in very, very good intact shape. So that's always a plus. Okay, now here we have here's sort of the full picture. So we have the white flames in the front, American flag obviously on the vehicle in front of a Starbucks here. What's more American than that? Again, we see our electronic four-wheel drive badge. All your rockers look to be in pretty good condition. Now, I see some weird little shape down here that may indicate some sort of rust repair, but overall it looks pretty darn clean. And we do have what looks to be a patch here, unless they just had some extra blue paint lying around and they wanted to paint a different shade of blue on the van just because they like blue, which, fair play. So then we have 3 separate blue flame stickers here on each of your 3 sort of rear window panes. Each one's slightly different, and even the first one is a slightly different color than the last 2, which, I appreciate that there's like, it's not just the same sticker 3 times, it's 3 unique individual stickers. So it really gives a lot of, character and flow to the blue flamage they've put on this vehicle. Boom. Your headliner also has blue and white flames. And I don't even know if that is your headliner, but we'll see later that it is indeed your headliner. Again, here's another shot of it. Sort of a great like telephoto shot. I like how far away they shot this from the vehicle. They walked out of, the store and immediately were like, man, my Aerostar looks really good. I got to take a picture of it. And I'm glad they did. A little better lighting here, so we see, you know, in more contrast, these blue flames and your sort of little blue, what may be a patch here or just some sort of discoloration. Your front bumper is janky and jagged and sort of hanging off there, but I don't think it's really broken. That could probably be remedied. And of course, the other thing is these black plastic hubcaps with steel rings around them. I'm fairly certain these are hubcaps. If they are wheels, really cool, but I have to guess they're probably hubcaps. Quite stylish, but I would probably, since they're black anyways, just pop them off and just run on the black steel rims, which to my eye are even more attractive. Okay, looking inside, the first thing we notice, obviously, blue flame headliner. Now, replacing a headliner is not easy or cheap. Ask me how I know. So I really appreciate that. I mean, this couldn't have been that easy to do. And while aesthetically it's not quite my taste, shall we say, I do you know, appreciate the time and effort. They had to cut around the dome light. You know, putting these things up there, these headliners, to make them fit tight, and you're just fighting against gravity because they are upside down after all, which is why so many of them eventually do collapse, especially in these 90s vehicles. Very, very common. And in Aerostars. So, you know, awesome. You know, you got a new headliner on. Now, maybe it's not what you would have imagined yourself. However, it is fully intact and it's been done for you. So, you know, probably just let it ride. And we do see what looks like to be a blue seat cover here. One of these sort of put over the seat covers. You do also have some screwdrivers in the seat, which means maybe they were, you know, working on something, which is nice. Also, looks like we do have some sort of center console, and it looks like it may be even like an aftermarket center console. I'm curious about that. Next picture, we have some nice accoutrement hanging from your rearview mirror, as well as a blue steering wheel cover, a blue and black steering wheel cover. Moving on, we have another blue seat cover, and we have, yes, a blue and black diamond stud pattern, or diamond press, what do you call that? Floor mat that has been installed, and the pièce de résistance, of course, the blue air ventilation cover, which is just, you know, really, really attention to detail. No stone unturned. And this is maybe my favorite of the whole thing, is that, like, again, a screen grab of their phone, but I really like that it says best of January. Now, obviously, this is just a thing that the phone does for you automatically, and it creates like your favorites or whatever, but it's automated. So that's good for two reasons. One, I like that the best of this person's month involved an Aerostar. So right there, that's awesome. That's the human element. And then like the AI element is that the phone, when it was deciding whatever the best pictures were for this month, was like, well, we have to put this picture of the Aerostar in there under best of, clearly. So I just thought that was like a very cute little thing, how the Aerostars, you know, we all go through life and we have our struggles. And, you know, then we have our highlights and our nice moments. And it's just nice to see that the Aerostar is, you know, looked at favorably and positively in terms of a recap of someone's month. So I thought that was nice. You know, it's very, very heartwarming. And back to the beginning. Now, color scheme wise, depending on the light, it looks like this is like, and it looks like actually there might be another blue line coming down here in your middle. And it looks like the four-wheel drive sign may have even been blued out or have a blue line around it. You know, it's like that song where the guy talks about driving a blue Aerostar. I mean a blue Corvette. I mean a blue Aerostar in my version, although I do love Corvettes. Anywho, this navy blue is a very striking color. I really like it on the Aerostar, and the two-tonage of it appears to be gray, but if you look close, it is actually almost a shade of blue. It's like this light bluish gray, which does not quite match the bumpers, which is funny because some of these later ones, they would do color matched bumpers for your second two-tone. Like if it was gold, they would paint the bumpers gold, but it's almost like this was close enough that they're like, we're not going to paint these bumpers a slightly different shade of blue-gray. We'll just leave them gray and you'll get the idea. And we do, because it obviously looks two-tone all the way around, and it is this sort of like very nice misty grayish blue. as your secondary color. So very fitting, a blue on blue Aerostar. It's too bad that this Aerostar, and I think by 96 a lot of the blue interiors had gone, but it's too bad that this Aerostar didn't have an all blue interior, because then you would really, you know, just have the whole thing totally blued out. And we don't actually have a lot of shots of the seats themselves because they're covered in blue seat covers, but obviously it's a gray interior and not blue. So if you could somehow get retrofit a blue interior in this Aerostar, that would be quite nice. And again, very interesting to me that they chose white flames on the front. Now, perhaps they couldn't find blue. I showed this to my buddy, and he had a great comment. He said, and this maybe sounds snooty, but it's not at all. It looks like they just got like a fresh credit card and like immediately headed to the Walmart auto parts section, just bought like every single blue accessory they could find, which, you know, is probably somewhat accurate. And that's certainly not a judgment on anybody, but it is that sort of Walmart auto parts, or, you know, AutoZone auto parts for that matter, any sort of like name brand auto store. The auto accessories that they have in there are often, you know, of this aesthetic style. So, and they found all the blue ones. And I like it. I think it's cool that, you know, they went the extra mile and put these accessories on and personalized it, custom design. Now, that's funny because, you know, it's customized, sure, but it's not like someone like hand painted these things on there. It's all like, you know, stuff you can find pretty readily available. But to that point, my Buick LeSabre, my 1995 Buick LeSabre is the custom, which is hilarious because that's actually the base model. So I don't know what's custom about it, but that word clearly has some sort of, you know, value in terms of describing a vehicle to make it sound somewhat special. So a lovely Aerostar, and I'm focusing sort of on the accoutrement of this Aerostar because I find it, you know, both humorous and charming. And but the van itself, you know, if you're just trying to find a van for the sake of finding a van, or finding an Aerostar for the sake of finding an Aerostar, really solid. I mean, the fact that it's been, you know, it's not like these accessories are somehow covering up, you know, like a ratty old van. Like, obviously they've not only put time and attention into sort of the aesthetics of it, but put time and attention into the actual performance and maintenance of the vehicle, which is great. I mean, new tires right there. That's $400 or $500. An alternator. I had to do an alternator on my Aerostar. I think it was like a $220 alternator, something like that. A battery, that's $200 right there. A radiator, that's probably $200 right there. And then exhaust work, tie rod ends, heater core. Like, you know, you've had thousands of dollars that's been dumped into this van. And yeah, it has 155,000 on it. And with these 4.0s, you know, I think, you know, like all internal combustion engines, they have failure points, but there's no reason to believe you couldn't drive this thing down the road for many thousands of miles without really having an issue. So, you know, well played, where they really, you know, they didn't just gussy it up and not take care of the actual mechanicals of the vehicle. So I very much appreciate that. So there you have it. Boy, what a way to welcome us back to America on the year of the Aerostar than this just, you know, emblazoned piece of Americana. And we'll leave you with that slide right there. So there you go. And speaking of, you know, celebrating, I guess, we've just hit 700 subscribers here on Janky AF. Janky do Thanky. Thank you so much. I have some comments to respond to. I'm always behind on this. I'm always behind on my emails. I apologize, but we're very busy here at Janky AF, as I imagine you are as well. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in and making this program a part of your YouTube diet. It's we really appreciate it, and we're so happy to have like a little corner of the internet, the information superhighway, in which on which the Aerostar is proudly, happily cruising down the road, and you know, continue on. It's amazing how many of these vans are out there, despite what people say. I know you don't see a ton of them in the wild, but if you dig around just a little bit, you'll see there's a ton of them out there. They made over 2 million. There's still many of them on the road, still performing and still doing work for your average, you know, person. So that's a nice thing, and we celebrate that here on Year of the Aerostar. So with that, we'll have another one coming for you soon, and until then, Janky do thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap